Hello, I'm Yossi Abram, and welcome to CX Tech Talk, sponsored by Zappix. This is a conversation about the intersection of AI and customer experience. My guest today is Christa Heibel. Since starting her career as a contact center agent in 1992, Christa has held nearly every position in the industry, rising from a telemarket to a CEO. In 2011, Christa founded CH Consulting Group with a mission to bridge the gap between people and technology. Driven
Mm.
by a philosophy of cooperation over competition, she and her team has driven transformations for major brands like Microsoft, Nutrisystems, and more. Welcome, Christa.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Excited for the conversation.
Me too, me too.
Mm.
So let's start with, can you share a bit more about your background and experience?
Sure. So I don't know that I love that my team gave you the bio with the year I started, because now we know that I'm old, but I have been in and around. I consider myself to be a bit of a entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. So I'm a lover of business and how to make business successful. A lot of my career has been in and around sales and marketing and customer service support and operations management. So pretty in-depth contact center operations and other operations leadership. And I'm just fascinated by just how to make business successful and optimized and work. So,
Great. Uh, Now we're going to speak a lot about AI and the different impact that it has on the industry. But to start
mm.
off with, if you had to explain what AI is to your mother or grandmother, how would you do it?
I would say AI as artificial intelligence is a tool that allows itself to be in a state of continual learning. So different than how we have created automated processes or workflows that when we take one action might trigger some other actions in the background. AI is a tool that can create additional optimization and automation, but it's more sophisticated in that it's ever evolving in its ability to support whatever that process or workflow is.
Yes, that's
I
a
mean,
nice
my
way.
grandma would need me to be pretty simple, so that would be
And that's exactly the purpose of this question, is to really understand
yes.
how people perceive it and explain it in simple terms, simple words.
Yeah.
And that was really great. And what is your personal experience before we speak about the consulting and business and so on? But what is your personal experience with AI and how has it evolved in the last couple of years?
So I'm by nature a little bit of a skeptic about tech. I think partly because of the work I do, and we've been on the leading edge of helping customer experience organizations implement from on-prem to the cloud and into more robust CCaaS. Like we've been a part of this whole tech evolution, right, in the last
Yeah.
10 to 15 years within the contact center CX space. So I tend to be a little bit cautious about, really what it can do. I'm a little bit more of a prove it girl. I'm not a good early adopter to tech
Okay.
myself. So what is fascinating about it is I've actually been playing around with it. So this is the first time I've publicly stated this insider data, but like I'm actually writing some children books using
Oh,
AI
wow.
today. So I've gotten into it. I'm learning. I think it's one of those situations where it's part of the future, right? And so how AI impacts us and how we can leverage things personally to get a little more comfortable and understand the tech is as important as how we're deploying it, maybe professionally.
Yes.
I think from a more corporate or business perspective, I am a consumer. So, like everybody else, I'm also a part of the market that is getting exposed to AI deployments, whether they're being done successful or not. So, I'm always very curious to see how different organizations, not just those that we support as a client, but those that I am a consumer or customer to, are are leveraging the technology. I had a really successful doctor's appointment scheduled the other day with an entire voice bot, and I was in such shock that I called the IT department of that healthcare clinic to find out what platform it was and to learn more about how it came to be there because I do think we can find pockets of really big success and deployment and get really excited about how to duplicate that.
Yeah, and I really see a lot of personal use in AI that is actually driving enterprise use of it.
Yes.
It's many individuals and employees that are using AI in different aspects, whether it's to help them draft emails or create ideas for images and white papers and blogs. But
Yes.
but that is really impacting now the enterprises and the business of, okay, how can we really utilize it? And we'll speak about that a bit more in a second, but how can we utilize it to drive efficiency, to drive more automation and so on?
It's
Uh,
really fascinating because I think, you and I both play in that CX, PX space
yeah,
aggressively, but watching how clients are trying to either encourage or discourage. Like we have business clients and partners on both sides of that fence. A very large financial services client of ours has been encouraging, like they just want people to track and use AI every day. It's a very fascinating approach, like throughout their entire organization. And then we have other organizations that are very restrictive to how their employees are allowed to use it because it
yeah.
really has created, like document management or creation or control, like ownership, accuracy, right? Like it opens up like a whole lot of questions. So it's a fascinating time.
So I'll ask you a question that probably two parts for it. First of all, how is your organization using AI today? How is
Mm.
CH Consulting use it? But more importantly, how are you using AI in as a tool, as part of what your clients can use in the future when you're consulting to them?
Yeah, I think, listen, I'm like a lot of CEOs today, right? I'm trying to figure out what is our policy. It's funny you asked me that because we literally are coming out with an updated AI usage policy internally. And I'm doing some training with all of my resources and partners because I want to be able to leverage it to be efficient.
Yes.
But I don't want it to replace our work, right? And it really can't. So using AI in ways of helping, like you mentioned earlier, draft things, but then taking the work and using internal intellectual property to like finalize reports or research or vice versa, doing the work and having AI maybe kind of polish or reformat some of that stuff. But, um, I think we have to be careful about that, because again, we want to make sure we're bringing the value from our experience to our clients on that. From a client perspective, it's a lot more fun because, we're in that contact center customer experience space where I think is one of the fastest growing areas within the enterprise for AI. And so we're trying to really help our clients navigate all of the right applications. I think sometimes when we say I don't even know what people are thinking, right? I think sometimes when we say AI, people go all the way to the voice bot,
Yes.
right? Or the web chat bot, and they forget about all the other valuable applications that AI is really showing up within the CX umbrella that adds better customer experience, that adds better operational data and efficiency gains. So we're really trying to help our clients build a strategy that is maybe a walk before you run, and is a little more thorough than just going to the voice bot AI product, right? To leverage within their organization.
So utilizing some of the more proven technologies such as RPA and so on, and start to sprinkle that with AI
Yes,
capabilities, and then
yes.
build the foundation for a more comprehensive AI capability in the future.
Yes, yes. And starting with like a speech
Yeah.
analytics tool that maybe feeds into like an agent assist tool or resource before we turn AI externally
Yeah.
to being the whole voice of the company, right? Like walking into the it from an application perspective that way.
So utilize it as more for the agent and for the internal resources, and then drive the efficiency there, and then only start to have it exposed to the end users, to the customers.
Yeah, that's been our approach. And listen, there's exceptions to that, right? We've
Sure.
had some very successful voice bot deployments, right, that have been a little bit more aggressive than that. But I think there's things, as I know you know better than probably even I, there's things that the organization has to have defined in
Yes,
order for AI to come in and be successful. So processes have to be clear. Knowledge management may need to be in place in much better scenarios than we often find our clients in with that. And so that validation of accuracy as we're honing those tools in more internal applications just guarantees the right quality when we are able to turn that technology outward.
absolutely. And that leads me actually to the next question, which is what are the main challenges that you encounter
Mm.
when organizations are trying to implement AI?
Listen, I think knowledge management is one of them. And I don't mean that maybe that's evolving, right? As AI technology is evolving, some of the more structured knowledge management requirements have obviously changed. But there's still just a lot of organizations out there where information is in people's head.
Yes.
So helping organizations make sure that the right information is available to the technology that we're looking to deploy is a big part of that. I think also just helping set the right use cases and success definitions, right? Like how are we measuring the success of this? Like
Yes.
what does success look like? I have a funny story because I had a client that without our support was deploying a voice bot, and they were very giddy that like 30% of their overall calls were going to that AI voice bot. The problem is when we dug into it, it had less than a 30% containment rate.
So it's actually
So,
9%. Yeah.
it just the devil's in the
Yes.
details. And so really making sure that everybody's clear on what we're doing, why we're doing it from a business and a use case perspective, the right information is available, and that we have a defined way to measure success.
Yeah, and I love your approach of let's find those use cases and expand upon them afterwards. Use the walk before running and everything around
Yeah.
that. I think that's because that's also a major part in any change management for any new
Yes.
technology. That's a major part there. So, and
Yes.
on top of that, if you compound it by legal compliance and other challenges that they have, it's
Yes.
sometimes easier to start with some very limited use cases, prove the results there, show the ROI, and then expand upon it.
Yeah. Well, and you have more data, right? We're
Yes.
very data-driven organization, so we like to be able to, again, measure, show optimization, show ROI. And so I think it's really important to like just have a plan and strategy. I think what we saw in 2024, and it was better in 2025, was just a lot of AI budget and spend, but it wasn't necessarily tied to an overall business strategy. It wasn't always integrated into the rest of the tech stack. It was like, the board and executives said, go get AI. And
Yes.
somebody went and got AI, and it didn't really add the optimization or the customer experience improvement or the ROI that I think they were looking for. And so it felt like last year the market slowed down a little bit and tried to realign on doing that a little bit better. And to us, that's just good business, right? It
Yes.
doesn't matter what tech you're deploying.
Yes. I think that 2026 will be the year of from AGI to ROI, from
There you
thinking of
go. Yeah.
very thing, very, AGI as a concept, as something that would be futuristic to actually what is ROI. So I define
Yeah.
this year really as from AGI to ROI. To
I
see,
love that. We're gonna play with you on that one in 2026. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
great.
would like to see that. Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
And part of your mission is in CH Consulting Group is really to merge between people and technology. And how do you see humans are still being relevant and maintaining the human touch with AI?
Well, it's funny. I just had a call this morning with somebody who I used to refer to as the godfather within the contact center space. Some of you listening to this may know who I'm talking about. But he was talking about how back in the late 90s when IVR came out, everybody said that was the end of the agent. There will no longer be agents. It's all going to be IVR. Now, it makes me laugh to even think about that today. Like, nobody selling IVR is wiping out the humans and customer experience today, right? So I kind of look at AI as the same. It is clear that we are on a path, particularly within like in all of the channels, not just the voice channel, where AI has the capability of replacing human or manual process. But we're not there at 100%. And I think what people need to remember is there's a lot of research on this that hasn't significantly changed in the last 3 to 4 years from the consumer perspective, which is when things are more complicated or difficult, or flat out, if your tech is just deployed poorly, they
Yeah,
still want the human interaction. So I think, as we're all in this space working together to kind of redefine what the contact center of the future looks like with this technology in place, I think we are trying to fill a niche or play a role in helping organizations level up their understanding of what AI is, helping organizations be that human in the loop.
yeah,
Because as I mentioned earlier, it was wild to see how many companies had just deployed some tool and turned it on, but nobody was working with it. Nobody was in there correcting or improving the process or the outcome. And this was from speech analytics to different like web chat bots. We saw this. So I think we're trying to help, again, within a bigger experience network and market today, help organizations figure out where is the consumer or patient tolerance for working with automation and where do they still want that human touch and interaction, and ultimately making sure that the tech stack is designed to support that preference.
yeah.
So even if I'm starting with an AI voice bot, at any point in time, I can get out of that and over to a live agent if that is my preference. I think preference is going to be one of the key words for the next 3 years.
And easy transition for an escalation to a human with transferring all that data that you already entered to that agent that you don't need to repeat it again. That's also critical for the entire
Yes.
customer experience.
Yeah, I think without that, that's where the consumer loses tolerance as we play with some of this new tech, right?
Yes,
Even as we deployed CCAS and we got more into the omni channel, that gap between I started in your web chat and then I got stuck and I wanted to talk to you and I had to start all over. Like
yeah,
consumers have been intolerant of that for a very long time. So, that's where we get into that stickiness of true omni
yeah.
channel integration versus like multi-channel where that data is not really following the consumer. So those are really important things for organizations and enterprises to be thinking about as they're
Yes.
designing and selecting the technology stack.
And we all see it also as consumers. Sometimes we start with a chatbot, and even when we move to a live chat, everything that we have done in that chatbot is forgotten. And then if we
Yes.
are asking to escalate to a voice call with an agent, again, we need to repeat everything, and that's
Yes.
extremely frustrating. So that's
It's
exactly
very
the design
frustrating.
of the journey that needs to
Yeah.
be much improved.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I think what happens is people figure that out and then they just bypass
yes,
that first step, right? So then you're not really providing a tool that's improving the customer experience. You're more giving the consumer or customer something that they're working around or trying to avoid.
yes.
And then that obviously is not the point of any of the investment in any of the tech.
So I know that you're working a lot also with healthcare. So I want to ask a question specifically about healthcare. How do you envision patient experience in the next, let's say, I wanted to say 5 to 10, but I don't think we can even look that far. 3 to 5 years. How do you see
Mm.
patient experience in the next 3 to 5 years with the impact of AI coming into the picture?
Listen, I'm just optimistic that patient experience is going to improve.
Okay.
So I feel I think the focus like healthcare is not immune to what every other business
Yes.
vertical and market is feeling, right? Which is pressure to figure out how to adopt AI. The challenge within healthcare from our perspective, and this is a very, very large vertical for us, is that particularly within like the provider space, there's not a lot of standardization. So they're a little bit more behind other verticals on centralization of like patient experience or traditional CX processes. So rather than like a central contact center operation handling patient access, referrals, and scheduling. A lot of these organizations have attempted that standardization and centralization and have failed. They've stepped back to more by specialty, by clinic capacity. And so I think there's an extra step that healthcare is a little bit behind around some of the process defining and standardization to be able to really leverage this technology. But what's exciting is it's kind of making them come back at that challenge again in a different way. Listen, we just want to see healthcare answer the phone. I mean, we want to see service levels that are acceptable that every other vertical is held to, right? I mean, if I'm calling to order a pair of jeans, I expect 80, we're doing 80/30 on the SLA level still, but we walk into some of these providers and they're running like a 65% answer rate and abandons over 10. And
Yeah.
so anything we can do with process and resource training and management and tech and AI to help improve that, we're on the way. And there is a lot of exciting AI voice bot stuff around just scheduling that is coming out. And so we're really excited to see that because again, I feel like just the basics have been a pretty big challenge within healthcare.
And one of our goals is really to bring the best practices of CX, customer experience, into PX, into patient experience.
Yes.
And I think your organization has the same mindset of how can we
Yes.
improve that experience across the healthcare.
Yes,
Um,
this is where we sync with you very tightly. Like we appreciate the work that you're doing around that. Yes.
and this leads me to my last questions. When you look at the market, when you look at the clients you work with, how does Zappix fit into it, and how does it complement the offerings that you can show and so on?
Well, I think, listen, your product includes all of some of the basics that we want organizations to look at. And it starts with a lot of internal operational efficiency gains, right? So it's about you guys drive amazing data and insights, which is what should be driving strategy within CX, right? It isn't like what somebody woke up and feels like should be the deal today or what to address. It should be data driven, and you guys are bringing different voice of the customer data and other data to the table that can be embedded within the rest of the CX or PX strategy. And you're really providing some of those performance management tools and access that creates additional operational efficiencies before we even get into the client facing
Yeah,
tools. And so this is exactly the type of tool that we recommend organizations need to look at in the very beginning of their journey with AI.
perfect. So it was great talking with you, Krista. I really enjoyed it, and I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.